ComC.com is your home for buying, selling, and flipping all of the hottest trading cards. Their consignment marketplace is home to over 23 million cards across all major eras and genres. With a ComC.com account, you can purchase cards from different sellers over time and ship them home together later, or immediately reprice them for sale on the ComC marketplace to try and flip. To continue serving collectors as our hobby grows, ComC is actively hiring for a range of different roles. Learn more and apply online at comc.com/jobs. You're listening to the WaxPackHero Sports Card Minute, a podcast where we discuss both the hobby and business sides of collecting. I'm your host, Mike Summer, and I want to help you buy, sell, and trade your way into a collection you'll love. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the WaxPackHero Sports Card Minute. I have a very timely conversation for you today and a very timely topic, and that is NASCAR trading cards. We just had the 2021 racing season kick off with Daytona. Panini has just released 2021 Donruss, and that means the racing collecting season is underway. And I can't think of two better guests to have on today than the hosts of NASCAR Radio. It is probably the only NASCAR-focused, racing card-focused podcast that's out there. And Val and Jason are the two co-hosts, and we're going to be talking a little bit about racing cards today. So I hope you are ready for that conversation. Maybe it'll even expose you to a different type of cards that you've never really considered, but I know I have a lot of fun collecting NASCAR cards. But before we get into that conversation, I want to make sure you go check out Underdog Collectibles at www.udogcollect.com. They break new product every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday night, and it looks like this week they've got a variety of different basketball, football, and baseball products that they will be opening. You can also jump into their Facebook community, which is a great community of people asking questions, celebrating their hits, and just having a lot of fun in the hobby. And you can also subscribe on YouTube. It's probably the best place to watch them. So buy your breaks at udogcollect.com. Go watch the break live on YouTube and have a lot of fun. And make sure when you go check them out that you tell them WaxPackHero sent you. All right, let's get on with the interview. Val and Jason, welcome to the show.
Good to be here, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having us.
No problem. I'm glad we get a chance to get together and talk a little bit about NASCAR and racing cards. And so I was glad you two were able to join me for that. The reason that both of you are on, like I said before, is because you are the two guys behind NASCAR Radio, the only NASCAR card dedicated podcast that I am aware of. So maybe we can start by just telling me a little bit about the origin of NASCAR Radio.
Well, NASCAR Radio kind of came out of, I was a baseball card collector and other sport card collector. Living in the South, I've known about racing and following some of that. Never really dove into the trading cards, but then in the mid-2000s, we were getting the NASCAR Hall of Fame down in Charlotte. So I thought it made sense to follow NASCAR or maybe start collecting, and the legends would be coming here, and I like to get in-person autographs, so it made sense. And, I'm one of these guys about research and looking and trying to understand, the cards and everything else. So trying to find information was really hard for me. And I was figuring, well, if I'm having trouble, other people would have trouble as well. So it started to become more of a documentation of opening packs or opening boxes and what's in it, and just kind of preserving that and putting it on the website. And then I've always wanted to do a podcast. And so years went by and ran into Jason. He's very similar to me. And, I want to do a podcast, and I didn't really want to do a guest type thing. So, because it's really hard to find guests that specialize in NASCAR trading cards, right? So it's like me and myself. So with Jason, it's great because he was like me. He was a baseball card guy or whatever, and he knows a lot about the hobby. So yeah, I thought it was a natural, and we've kind of taken it from there.
And so, Jason, you jumped on with Val as part of the show. But your background is not quite as deep in racing specific focuses, right?
It's definitely not. I've been in the trading card hobby or industry or whatever you want to call it since probably 89 or 90, but my NASCAR experience probably starts around 2000, 2001. I'm sure like a lot of people do with the death of Dale Sr. and then that kind of influx of people finding stuff. And I was the person that like, I don't know a lot about racing cars, but the friends that I had would ask. So it was kind of, I was learning on the fly as well. And then, doing everything that I've done from a hobby shop owner to buying and selling online to being just like Val and wanting to know, I want to know the information about the cards, why they're made a certain way. And then, plans from companies. I like talking to people, like you, like Val, like a Tracy Hackler, as opposed to somebody that opens 60 cases of a product and says, I hit the big money cards. That's not my forte. I want the information. And then I actually think, starting with Val, I think I had him as a guest on my Steel City Scoop podcast when I was with Steel City Collectibles. And I knew the name, knew the NASCAR radio name, knew Val's name, and everything that was NASCAR always seemed like Val was involved. Val popped up as he knew the answer or he was going to try to find out the answer. So when I had him as a guest, we kind of did strike up that friendship. And then it was, texts and emails of, hey, did you see this or that? And then he came to me and said, hey, would you want to be the number two? Because I think he understood that, yes, Val's the expert and he knows, I don't want to say everything, but he knows a great deal about that specific aspect of the industry. But also me coming as a newcomer kind of would ask the questions that an outsider would want to know. So I'm kind of learning on the fly, and we're 2 years in and I'm still learning stuff to this day. We recorded last night and I said a couple of things that I just learned this week. So it's an interesting back and forth between us two.
Yeah, I think that's the dynamic that I like a lot is there are so few people who have that in-depth knowledge about NASCAR cards. And so a lot of the people who are coming to appreciate the sport and that you guys are starting to reach through the podcast are new. And so you bringing that newer racing collector viewpoint, like you said, is right on point, and I think people benefit from that. So I just wanted to hit on that a little bit because, again, NASCAR Radio is probably the only racing specific trading card podcast that's out there, and so it's definitely worth a listen to if you want to learn the history and also keep tabs on what is going on now in the world of racing cards. The other reason I was hoping to get you guys on at this time is because we are kicking off the 2021 racing season with Daytona just happening last week at the time of this recording, as well as the launch of the first 2021 racing card product with 2021 Donruss. And so I wanted to get you guys on to both talk a little bit about Daytona and also 2021 Donruss. So maybe just starting with Daytona. Val, do the results of Daytona give us an indication of some people that we might want to be watching in 2021 that maybe weren't on our radar before the race?
Well, it was quite an interesting race, Daytona 500, with Michael McDowell winning. Racing for a while since has cards since 2008, but had that, the long shot win. And Jason was talking about hopefully some people put some money down on that. But I guess with the hobby, they like to go after maybe the young stars and stuff like that. So Michael McDowell probably is not that, but I did see a little bit of a bump on his cards from '08 and his autographs and stuff. So, but usually, to win Daytona, you have to have a really good car. Usually comes from, one of those higher teams with Chase Elliott coming in second and stuff like that, and him winning the championship. So you definitely see a push for Chase Elliott cards, and people are going after some of the younger drivers in the lower levels because it's just not Cup, it's the truck and the Xfinity series as well. And with Austin Centric in the Xfinity series, and he's going to be eventually going up to Cup. So definitely performance on the track helps with the cards and with collecting too.
Let's talk a little bit about 2021 Donruss. That's been out a couple weeks now. I had one hobby box that I was able to open and had a lot of fun with it. I know you were talking recently about how Donruss is that one product that seems to be the consistent staple in the Panini racing lineup, and that's one of the things that I appreciate too about it. I've gotten every set since 2017 when it was released. Initial thoughts on 2021 Donruss? Have you guys both had a chance to open any?
We both have, yes. I love it. I am a flagship set, I guess, builder. And so I, like you, have all the sets, and it's a fun rip, and it's not, real expensive. It takes a couple boxes or a little bit, some of that old school trading to complete a set. And this year they threw some surprises with the 5th anniversary buybacks. That was, I don't know how they kept that secret, but that wasn't revealed until at the end.
Yeah, I actually pulled one of those buyback autos in my box, and so that was kind of cool to see. And it was a bonus auto; it doesn't count as the standard auto in your box. So that was a pretty cool, nice little addition.
Yeah, and at the price point, with all the craziness going on with all the different sports, I almost don't like to talk about it because I'm afraid it's going to drive up, prices. But at $80 a box for an auto, 2 memorabilia, and all those base cards, optic. I mean, it's kind of loaded with parallels, inserts, and with that 5th anniversary, for $80, and even with the blasters, and they've added some really super short prints. Usually downtown is the one, but they've added watercolors, blank slate, and sketchworks as well. So even more goodies to chase.
Jason, did you get a chance to open any?
I certainly did. No retail for me, but I did open a hobby box, and I'm like you. I also got a buyback autograph, and was telling a friend of mine that also is a racing collector and is in the Nuts group. Here's what I got. I got the buyback autograph as well. And like Val said, they kept that buyback a secret, but then on top of it being a secret, it was an additional hit, which, nobody would have complained if it was their autograph from the box, but with it being the additional, it's that much better. And, what we talk about all the time with Donruss, like you mentioned, is that consistency. But like Val said, for the price at $100 or less, you're getting color, you're getting the inserts, the parallels, there's the optic, and there's the optic prism, or optic silvers, excuse me. There's the relics, the autographs. I mean, it's crazy what you get in the box, and it's got everything for almost any type of collector, minus a heritage-esque type of card stock. Besides that, I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of collector you are. I think you would find something that you liked. And if we were talking about this for another sport, you're looking at 150 a box versus 75 or 80.
Yeah, my favorite part about it is a deep checklist that shows both the driver and their cars, and it has some of the lower racing series drivers in there too, the Race Kings design. It does have that retro design element, just not the card stock element, right? And right. I like that too. So the people that like those designs from the 80s is in there. I've been a big fan of using optic as an insert or a parallel, however you want to consider it, versus a standalone product for racing. And so I love the fact that those optic cards are a part of the standard hobby packaging and retail packaging as well. The inserts last year, maybe it's been 2 years now, but once they started to do some of the action-packed style inserts, and it was almost Chronicles Racing before they actually came up with their own Chronicles product, just from the inserts that were in Donruss. And that's kind of continued through in this 2021 release as well.
And Mike, you have a good point that they actually, they had a great product and then he stepped it up. So the inserts, your base insert, like last year just had that shine on it with nothing, but now they have that design inside the foil for just the base. And now when you got a numbered, it was just shiny and no, I think it was like a fireworks design on the base, which I thought, just took the base inserts to another level without being numbered. And then the optic, this is their third year, I think. 2019 was their first year with optic. I love that set. I think that's a major sleeper. I talk about it on the show. Yeah, I think it's all around fantastic product.
I know recently you had a chance to talk with Tracy from Panini. Did he give an indication on what the next racing product would be for 2021?
So we did have him on the show, the Hobby Hotline show. With talking with him, he basically confirmed that Chronicles is the next release. I was trying to get more information out of him, but he did say that they had a major announcement coming. Now, he was kind of hinting, or I was asking about a few subjects. One being that Jeff Gordon is not under contract with Panini, has no cards other than that really rare Fox announcer set. And then also we talked about possibly, or how they were coming along with trying to license Dale Earnhardt Sr. So he really didn't give any answers, but he did say that the Chronicles, there was going to be a major announcement. So Jason, is that kind of what you got from that?
Yeah, definitely along those same lines. I'm hoping that it's more of a content driven, driver edition, as opposed to an additional product or something in a product, because looking at Panini and what they do for the other sports, if it's an additional product, you're looking at anything from $100 box to $1,000 box. But I think with what NASCAR has right now, I think we're good on products. I think there's a kind of that little bit for everybody, and there's variety, and there's a variety of price points as well. So for me, I'm definitely hoping it's a content related kind of a driver edition announcement.
Did you get a chance to ask him about the return of Panini Instant with their racing line? Because I know you and I, Val, have talked about that over the last couple of years, of how we would love for Panini to bring back Instant to their NASCAR lineup. Did you get a chance to talk with him about that?
I did ask him about that. He really didn't say. He did reveal that they've got the MMA license and that they're going to be doing Panini Instant for that. So I was kind of disappointed that, they would do the MMA, but not do the NASCAR. With Topps doing the Formula One on demand, I was hoping that Panini would get into that Panini Instant space again for NASCAR, because when Panini and NASCAR did the Panini Instant, they started in 2016 and just did the end of the season, the playoffs. And then in 2017, they did the whole season. But, the market has totally changed, and those print runs were low and
super low.
When you look at the print runs compared to the print runs now for Formula One and stuff like that, I mean, literally, if there was 125 cards, that was like crazy numbers. And then lowest are in the 50s or in 60s. So I've been trying to finish some of those sets up, and because I was basically wondering if they didn't have the resources to put at it, if they were at that point where they needed some more resources and just didn't want to commit to that. That didn't seem to be the problem, but because when a driver wins that first race, I mean, we're talking about a Michael McDowell. If they're doing Panini Instant, a Michael McDowell Panini Instant card for his first win, Daytona 500. And, how many would those sell? But so I think I'm hoping that if it's not this year, it's next year that they come out with that Panini Instant.
Yeah, I was hoping they would too. You turned me on to that set a few years ago, and I was able to track down the complete 2016 set, but that 17 set has proven to be pretty elusive. I think there's still 8 or 10 cards maybe that I need that just don't ever show up anywhere. And I've got my eBay searches and nothing new ever comes up. It's the same person selling the same cards all the time. And I've tried on the Nuts group and everybody's like, what are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about. It's tough to track some of those down when there's only a 50 or 60 print run on those. Earlier we were just talking about how racing is one of the more affordable product lines, but we've started to see prices escalate along with the other sports over the last several months. Prior to these last few months, it was not uncommon to see retail blaster boxes from some of the past years for $5 a box, lots of 20 for $100. You saw Donruss, one of our favorite racing products. You could buy those boxes anywhere between $25 and $35 for a hobby box in the time, a year or two post release. And those days seem to be gone. It seems like we're up to those retail blasters being $20 now. Hobby product, even those older hobby products have doubled in price. Any thoughts on where you think we might be headed? Do you think it's a short-term blip? I had one person say, yeah, that's what the big online retailers are selling it for, but I'm not convinced that anybody's actually buying at those new prices. Any thoughts on what we're seeing? Is that just a pricing issue, or do you think there are collectors who are actually buying some of this older product at 2 to 4 times the price that it was only a few months ago?
Good.
Well, I was going to say, from my Steel City Collectibles experience, you would be shocked at the stuff that actually moves through, these distributors on a daily basis, because it would seem like, this product, as a normal collector, you think nobody ever buys that. But then you go to an online marketplace and actually see it happen and unfold in front of your eyes, in person. And it's like, man, I can't believe, this person bought X boxes of whatever product. I thought that would, be a dust collector. And it's that thing of, it's eBay, and you're seeing it in person. And, just because so-and-so thinks, X-Files cards from Upper Deck don't sell, somebody in California might be buying 20 boxes of that because they've been waiting for it their whole life, and, trying to find somebody that has it for sale. And it's crazy. The one example I have is when we started this podcast, I went back and bought a box of 17 Donruss Hobby, I think for $20, and like you just brought it up, now it's a $70 box. And I think people were buying because they have that fear of, well, if it's 70 today, it might be 90 in May. I think stuff is going to keep going up for a couple years, and then maybe the bubble will pop. But I think people were buying because of that fear of missing out.
Also, I think the supply, there's not a lot, Panini's not printing tons of racing, right? They fit in the window, their production window, and they're printing it, and then they're done, and then it sits. And then if, like with the 2018 Prism, it gets hot with Haley Deegan and some other Bubba Wallace and some of these other drivers, it just skyrockets. I am amazed at the pricing. And, to your point, what it was a few years ago to last year and then now, but trying to find 2016 Prism, their first Prism release, I can't find a hobby box. You used to be able to find blasters, but you can't even find blasters now. So the 2018 Prism, I'm seeing them, they were like $250 for a hobby box, and nobody has any right now. I just, somebody must have got a case in, and I ended up buying like 5, but they were less than $100 a box. So I picked up a few then, but stuff just dries up, and the prices are out there, and you can either buy it or not buy it. And I think to what Jason was saying, maybe somebody's wanting just to open it. They've been wanting to open up that particular brand or whatever. and nobody else has got it. So again, if all you got to do is look at the other sports, let's go to basketball, and everything looks like a bargain compared to that.
Now, do you think part of this is also us seeing more new racing collectors come into the hobby, or do you think it is kind of purely driven by demand from the existing racing community?
I'll give my opinion first. I think it's a little bit of an accident. I think with the way that things are at Walmarts and Targets, to where you can't just walk in and buy a box, on a random Wednesday afternoon on your lunch break anymore. Like those days are gone, at least for now. And I think that's why we're seeing an uptick in racing products, in wrestling products, in 1991 Upper Deck baseball. People just, they want to do something. They want to open, they want to buy something. And when you can't get something current off the shelves, and then you're going to order, where you're going to put more time into ordering. So you're going to think about what you want to buy, and it's not that spur of the moment. So I think that's why we're seeing a lot of increases in these other sports and older products, is you just don't have that luxury of a impulse buy anymore.
I think also you have collectors collecting these other sports, and with the addition of Michael Jordan coming into the hobby as a car owner for Bubba Wallace team, and Michael Jordan teaming up with Denny Hamlin, I've seen a lot of people ask about Bubba Wallace, and again, Haley Deegan, Natalie Decker, some of the and then the other younger drivers as well coming up. We had a great rookie class last year at the Cup level. I think there's just new fans, or hopefully, they're finding the podcast, or, they're interested in this NASCAR, and then also a trading card collector that, and NASCAR, I think there was talk about how they've had some good numbers for viewership. It's just a combination of a few things, I think, that's helping the sport.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it probably is a combination of multiple factors that are driving what we've been seeing. Like you said, regardless, even though prices have come up, it's still one of the most affordable products to collect, whether it's sealed. The autographs are typically very reasonable. Some of the coolest relic cards out there for any sport, and they're super affordable as well. The complete sets are often affordable if you just want to buy that set on the aftermarket. And so it's a great sport to collect, a great way to add to watching the live races, is to have those cards of your favorite drivers as well. So definitely encourage everybody to check it out. Before we go, why don't you guys tell us where we can find you guys and where we can find the show?
Well, you can find the NASCAR Radio podcast on iTunes, Podbean, and then we have the blog as well at NASCARradio.com, and also on the Hobby Hotline. Sometimes do guests over there where you can ask questions. It's another great outlet for collectors where, you have questions and you want to talk to somebody. It's Saturdays at 11 on YouTube.
Where can we find you, Val?
Me? Oh, I'm always on Twitter. I'm sorry, I forget. Yeah, I'm always on Twitter at NASCAR Radio.
Very cool. How about you, Jason?
For me, pretty much anywhere it's Jason Dean Martin. Not as active as I probably should be. We talked off air, two little kids that'll kind of cramp your style a little bit. But, one thing that Val and I have talked about is we've done the show for almost 2 years, and we probably don't promote it as much as we should, and, put some stuff out there for people to see. And that's one thing for 21 that we're going to try to improve on, and, get some numbers up for us and get some additional listeners. So I would say be looking for us to do some heavy promotion this year, hopefully.
Thanks again, guys, for coming on the show.
Absolutely, Mike.
Thank you.
Well, hopefully that piqued your interest a little bit about the racing cards segment of the hobby. Let me know what you think. Reach out to me on Twitter at @TheMikeSummer. Send me an email, waxpackhero@gmail.com. I'd love to know what you thought. I'd love to know if you've got any interest or any other questions about NASCAR racing cards. Let me know. Well, that is all I've got for you today. So stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.